After so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear, I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah.
Peace and love. Welcome again to the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, the exclusive platform of political prisoners, of our political prisoners rather, where we connect what's going on currently to the need to organize and fight to free our political prisoners, those who dare to fight against this oppressive system. So today is day 8 of 2025. Coming into this year, we have some work to do. Right, we see what's going on with Robert Brooks, and we have to look at history. We have to make a serious analysis of these concrete conditions and ask ourselves, what are we going to do? What has been done before, and how can we learn from that so we know what to do from now? Right? State violence. Like, what is state violence? Right? We hear the term violence. We hear the term state. But how much time do we spend evaluating what it means so we know who's playing what part, who's on our side, and who's not on our side? If I had to define a state, I would say that it's tentacles in a society that keeps the ruling class and their ideas empowered. So now when we talk about these tentacles in the state, of the state, we're talking about the media, we're talking about the prison, we're talking about the police, we're talking about the correctional, the so-called correctional facility, the prison industrial complex system, and a number of other things. But these things represent the interests of those in power, because we live in a class system, right? We have the ruling class, and we have the class that's being ruled, which is the proletariat, or the working class, the labor class, the labor force. That it is out of that profit is made, that how the capitalist is able to live. So examining that and examining our situation, then we start to understand, there's some serious work that we need to do. We have to take a position. We have to be very clear on what's going on, and we have to make that decision about what we're going to do, because ignoring the problem is not going to change anything, right? As I've said before, we'll just pass these problems on to someone else. Last night I was at a town hall meeting, and with a number of organizations were there. I was very inspired by the speakers, inspired by those who shared their experiences, and a lot of fire, a lot of pain, because we know what's going on. And in this tragedy that happened, with our beloved brother Robert Brooks, is not an isolated incident. It's not something that hasn't happened before. And that's why we have to ask ourselves, why does this continue to happen? But before I go further, let me read this statement that was made by political prisoner Joy Powell. I think that it says a lot about how we should look at this situation, or let us be clear and let's understand that we have to have a voice that's in the inside, that is relaying what's going on in the inside to us, so we know what we need to do in terms of bringing them home. And so our beloved freedom fighter, captured freedom fighter Joy Powell, in a statement, she said, in reference to the egregious Emmett Till style murder happened to Robert Brooks is certainly not an isolated incident. This time, they just happened to get caught and exposed by no-nonsense New York State DOCCS Commissioner Daniel F. Martusello III to the public. We, as human beings with immense capabilities, cannot continue to turn a blind eye to the injustices that have been happening for centuries for people of color. Is it not enough to have one or two protests and call it a day? There needs to be foot soldiers on the ground on behalf of Mr. Brooks' family and millions like him at every governmental door and outside of Marcy Correctional Facility, demanding swift action, accountability, law reform, and prosecuted to the fullest. In 2005, a close friend like a brother, Michael Anthony Davis, also called Poochie, was left in a coma after a brutal beating at the same Marcy Correctional Facility by DOCCS staff. He was left in a coma and as a result succumbed to his injuries. Another inmate, Candy Brown from Brooklyn, New York, was in Monroe County Jail, was tortured and thrown into an ice cold cell, frozen. Candy was found in her cell the next day, deceased. My oldest deceased brother, Belton Lee's son, was scheduled to leave Monroe County Jail the same day he allegedly hung himself, while evidence showed he was beaten to his demise in the Monroe County Jail. On a regular at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, women are constantly being beat by all men. Women be the team only being raped and abused. Constant complaints have been filed and constantly ignored. We need immediate reform to protect the rights and dignity of all New York State incarcerated individuals, regardless of whether they are innocent or guilty. None of them were sentenced to being beaten, raped, or killed by DOCCS employees while acting under the color of the state of New York. Respectfully, Joy Powell, political prisoner, hashtag free Joy Powell. So that's Joy's statement. Please take a few minutes to share with others. Let's get that circulating. Let's let her know by it getting circulated that she is being heard and she is not being ignored. Now, I defined state or gave you my explanation of state. Now it's important that we get into violence, right? What is violence, right? Violence, if I had to define it in a way that we have a definition that can be understood very clearly between two people who have to articulate their ideas so that they could decide, how do we deal with this? How do we approach it? I would say that violence is an attack on a people's self-determination. Now, we talk about different forms of violence, right? Whether it's the lack of affordable housing, jobs, or your medication is extremely high, right? Or the fact that not everybody can get the same quality of healthcare because of their conditions in terms of how much income that they make. That's a violent act, and we can't ignore that. So we have to understand that this act of violence is being done because of the interest that it plays, right? Those who are seeking to make profit, who put profit over people's health, are behind this act of violence. And we have to ask ourselves, why is this, right? And what must be done? Because once we start digging deeper into this understanding of violence, then our relationship to it changes, right? We understand that it is a tool to oppress us, and it should be a tool or a means of going about doing things to liberate us. But I don't think that we'll get to that understanding of it until we make some time to really evaluate it, study it, and have dialogue with like minds. Because at that town hall meeting, there was obviously like minds. It was standing room only. People had to go upstairs who were not allowed to seat or who didn't have a seat that was available, right? Because like I said, it was standing room only. So they had to go upstairs. And understanding that, you understand that there is a strong desire to get a clear understanding of what's happening, why it's happening, and what should be done, right? Because there's always an action that we need to take. But once we have clarity on what the state is, once we have clarity on what violence is, then now we decide that we have to deal with this according to our level of understanding. And we got to make those around us knowledgeable of what's happening. We have to make them conscious of their class. We have to make them conscious of their responsibility of a person of African descent. We have to make them conscious of this, what the system has done to us and why it's been done. So when we identify the state and we understand our violence, then there's a history that goes along with it, right? So when we examine the history of the state violence in this particular country, right, we look at the indigenous people, what was done to them, right? They were victims of genocide. They were wiped out because the capitalists seek to utilize their land as a basis for their like a laboratory for the work or the operation of making profit. And those who were there had to leave, and they were going to be dealt with in the most barbaric way possible. So you get rid of the indigenous people, and you bring in the African. The African is brought here to be the working force and to work from can't see in the morning to can't see at night until their very life is over. And when we see the state operating that like that historically, then we say that, okay, this is going to continue to go on because somebody has something to gain, because because that is the way it has to happen for them to continue to make profit. And when I say them, I'm talking about the ruling class. And this history of violence, it's history that has effects to this very day. They say post-traumatic slave syndrome. When you look at the structure of your family, you ask yourself, how did my family come to be? Some families are different than others, but if they had some history of slavery in that family, then that's going to make its way to another generation. The only way we can actually eradicate ourselves from being the victims of post-traumatic slave syndrome is by being a part of organized action, because it's through the organized action that we have some sense of therapy. We have some sense of sanity, right? Because just to accept these conditions as something normal, there's something wrong with you. Because now, can you actually say that you are not that you are sane? Because when you look at somebody like Robert Brooks, and you look at the video of him being killed, you look at the pictures of Emmett Till and how his face looked after those racists did what they did to him. Then you say, why does this continue to happen? This happened over a century. This happened decades ago, and this happened centuries ago, right? When you look at what was done to Nat Turner because of his position in opposition against state violence, because obviously he seen what was going on, and he said that when it is enough, who decides that this is going to stop? Who will be accountable? Who will step up and decide that they're going to do something about it? Because just like Joy Powell said in her letter, and we got to salute her for having the courage to put that out, to let people know that, that we have to do something about it, because this does not stop on its own. We have irreconcilable differences with the ruling class, because the ruling class wants to make profit off of our labor by any means necessary. And we want our freedom, we want our liberation by any means necessary. So we have to decide, what role are we going to play? Are we going to be a part of a platform that is going to continue to talk about what's happening, or are we going to be on the ground and start organizing people against what's happening? Because when you look at any nation that has got liberated from colonialism, they had people playing different roles. You had the guerrillas that was on the ground. They were armed. They were organizing people. Then you have people who were in the media. They were armed intellectually. They were armed with theory. They were inspiring those who were taking up arms to continue to fight. They were inspiring others who were not involved in no particular action to do something, that their effort, their participation is needed at some level. So you have to ask yourself, what are you going to be a part of? Identifying state violence, seeing it has a long history. There's going to be more victims. There's going to be more lynchings. There's going to be more exploitation, because we failed to do what we needed to do. And that is in examining the history, the long history of state violence. Our ancestors were victims of it. And when you look at it on different levels, right? Because violence, as I said, is an attack on the people's self-determination. Look at segregation and look how so many people of African descent were denied education. I had a second grade education, a third grade education, and that affected their decision making. That had an effect on another generation and how their lives was going to be. So this fight, well, how do you fight state violence? You fight it by organized manner. Right? We look at Harriet Tubman. What did she do? She organized people. She had the Underground Railroad. That had different safe houses. She had allies. They knew what her role was, and she knew what their role was, and everybody played their role to a T. And so in 2025, that's exactly what we have to do. We have to continue to study history, right? We look at Denmark Vesey. We had an infiltrator, and there's going to be infiltrators in our groups. But it doesn't stop the fight. The fight must continue, because if we don't continue to fight, the oppression, the violence will continue. So that is our responsibility. That is what we need to do, and we need to examine another of situations on how we dealt with state violence. Right? We march, we protest, we have community programs, we formulate organizations. Then out of those organizations, those people might formulate other organizations in other locations, get inspired to take that somewhere else. We gain international support, and we ask those of our comrades who are in different areas who are on the international stage to use their platform to advocate for our liberation, because what's happening to us undermines our self-determination. It underdevelops us as a people, and we have to be determined to fight as strong and as long as we have to for our self-determination. We look at the Black Panther Party. They were disciplined, they were focused, they were in tune with the community, because that's one of the things that we can't ignore is our relationship to the community. We're fighting for the community. The community needs to know that we're a voice for them. We're a fighting force for them. And we are out here to do that, to fight for them, to take a position for their self-determination. So please, if it's your first time viewing me, please like, subscribe, share. We got to support our own media. We got to control our own narrative. And if those of you who are interested in doing this work to free our political prisoners, please call me at 347-679-3936. Again, that's 347-3936, 347-679-3936. Excuse me. It's always important that we have a clear understanding of our political prisoners. And our political prisoners, we should not let them die in prison. We should make sure we fight as long and as hard as we need to bring them home. For those of you who are not familiar with the term political prisoners is one who has made and who acts on a conscious political decision to change the present state of property relations, right? So when we talk about the state, we're talking about property ownership, right? Because we live in a capitalist society. So those who have property, that's what the police are for. Police are out there to protect private property. Police were formulated to capture runaway slaves. So when we start understanding those histories, then we understand what's going on now and why it's going on now. So there are a number of things that's happening, and I want to do my part to inform you about what's going on. Because February 15th, that's so-called Valentine's Day, right? We're going to be, when I say we, the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, as well as Holla, how our lives link together. We're going to be at the correctional facility at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility, and that's going to be February 15th from the hours of 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. So please come through, be a part of this work that's necessary, right? Because we have to be continuous with this work. We can't get comfortable with fighting today and deciding that we did our job and we're not going to fight tomorrow. We have to make that serious effort about doing something, because this attack has been going on far too long. And that's why, I always encourage people to have a book on hand, to have a a book that you are going to go through. You're going to extract certain ideas from it, and you're going to share it with others. This particular book that I was investigating prior to me coming on live is from Stokely Carmichael. Stokely Carmichael speaks from Black Power to Pan-Africanism, and there are a number of chapters. As I was reading, I was coming across this example that he was using to see where people's mind was. He put up sentences, and one sentence would be constructed one way, another sentence would be constructed another way, and people would give their what they thought about the sentences. And what I got from it is that, you know, the ruling class decides who is right and who is wrong. And we got to ask ourselves, why am I who side am I on based on what answer I give? And why did I come to the conclusion that I came to? It's a very interesting project that he presented, because he was presented it from a scientific perspective, right? Because the sentence was a subject, and those who were observing the subject were the scientists, and they had to give their scientific assessment of why they chose what they chose in terms of their idea. And that's exactly how our approach needs to be when we're dealing with state violence. We need to approach it scientifically. We need to ask, when did this start? Why is it here? Why does it continue? And what was done and what should be done? Because when we look at the Black Panther Party, they were all scientists, right? They were in uniform. They made an evaluation of the social conditions. They made a commitment to actually doing something, and they stuck to it. I read Joy Powell's statement, and I want to let people know that Joy Powell is a political prisoner, and there is a clemency campaign to bring her home, and we're looking for letters. We have a number of letters. I think at this time we have over 70, but we need some more letters, because Joy Powell should not be in prison for the duration of her life. Study her story, go to her website, and write her. I gave you the information before, and I'm going to give it to you right now, because it's important that as I have a dialogue going on, that I make time out to provide information on our political prisoners, so that they are written to, so their ideas, their concerns are inserted into what's going on currently. Because as I read the statement on Joy Powell, we are all in this together. We are all suffering together. We all feel the same pain when we witness another one of us being killed at the hands of the state. And we have to decide that we are going to come together on all different levels and stand up and fight back until this is over, right? It's freedom or death, right? So that's Joy Powell's contact information. This is Imam Jamil Al-Amin contact information. You could write to Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Jamil Al-Amin. His number is 99974-555 USP, Tucson, U.S. Penitentiary, P.O. Box 2450, Tucson, Arizona 85734. Of those who are not able to see what I'm showing, because I know while I'm on Facebook and two different channels on YouTube, I'm also on TikTok. So I just want to make sure that I'm giving everybody the proper information so that they can share with others. You can write to Mumia Abu Jamal at Mumia Abu Jamal Smart Communications /PADOC Mumia Abu Jamal AM 8335 SCI Hanoi, P.O. Box 33028, St. Petersburg, Florida 33733. And for Kamal Siddiqui, you can write to Kamal Siddiqui at Kamal Siddiqui 00011506888, Augusta State Medical Prison, Building 23A-2, that's 3001 Gaudet Highway, Groveton, Georgia 30813. Let me give two other addresses, so I'm not guilty of not making time out to provide that necessary information, because our political prisoners need to come home. They need to not be forgotten, because it's bad enough that they're in prison, but for us to forget them, us to let them die in prison, that is another assault. That is another attack on us ourselves, right? Because they are political prisoners, they are captured freedom fighters, and they are the reason why we make advancements, because they are a threat to those who are in power, because they back them up. They make them think about, listen, if we continue to do what we're doing, we're not going to have anything. And the capitalist chooses, or rather is profit on something than not have profit at all. So you can write to Kojo Bomani, excuse me, Sababu at Kojo Bomani Saba 39384-066 FMC Butner PO Box 1600 Butner, North Carolina 27509. Go right to Leonard Piltier at Leonard Piltier 89637-132 USP Coleman 1 PO Box 1033 Coleman, Florida 33521. And for Aziz Abdul, that's at Warren Ballantine 19-1878 Citrus County Detention Facility in care of Securus Digital Mail Center, P.O. Box 20187 Tampa, Florida 33622. I just got two more, and I continue this dialogue. Right to Malik Bey at Mario Smith 19-1874 Citrus County Correctional Facility in care of Securus Digital Mail Center, P.O. Box 20187 Tampa, Florida 33622. Right to Joseph Bowen at Smart Communications, PADOC Bowen Joseph AM-4272 SCI Fayette Post Office Box 33028 St. Petersburg, Florida 33733. And this is the last one. The last one I have is right Fred Muhammad Burton at Smart Communications PADOC Burton Fred Muhammad AF 3896 SCI Somerset Post Office Box 33028 St. Petersburg, Florida 33733. Please share that information that I gave to you, because we can't forget who they are. We got to make sure that we continue to have them in our dialogue, because that is the only way that we're going to raise the consciousness That's the only way that we're going to be able to combat the state violence, is through organized action, inside and out. Right. So somebody online said, "What's the name of the book again?" This is Stokely Carmichael, From Black Power to Pan-Africanism. Got to make sure that I engage with the family. Please like, please share. That's the name of the book. Organized action, indeed. We need organized action. I appreciate you, Nadine Farris. Thank you for tuning in. Please share with as many people as possible. And if you're interested in doing some work around this action, right? Because I'm not just on this platform. I'm in the community of Queensbridge. I'm in the community of South Jamaica, Queens. Talk to me. I have connections in those communities. We could start to utilize our talents in our interests. So I know I was asked a question, and let me see if I have the knowledge and understanding to ask that question. It says, how can we move from a defensive to offensive position to combat carceral violence? And yes, very interesting, important question. I would say that it is organized action. We have to come together. We have to engage in some serious theoretical training, right? Theoretical training. That means make sure you have a library card. Make sure you set aside some of your weekly earnings to purchase books that are dealing with liberation struggles. Make sure you have a passport. Go different places and learn from those who were part of organizing their nation, and go to their museums, their histories. You know, we have the social media. We can use that to engage each other But it's very important that, you know, we don't get too used to this social media platform because we don't own it. We got to meet outside of this. But I provide my information, 347-679-3936. We can come together. We could decide what needs to be done and get it done. So again, join us, the Northeast Political Prisoner, February 15th from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. We'll be at the Bedford Hills Correctional Facility. We'll be having another visual, and we'll be addressing what's going on to the prison and letting the prisoners know that we're outside for them. We love them. They have not been forgotten. We have to continue to organize action. So please share with others. Thank you for tuning in. Don't let our political prisoners die in prison. Y'all know the call, free them all.
Here I am, after so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you,